Hello, and welcome to Whisper's Secrets. I used to think our marriage was untouchable, unshakable. But all it took was one night, one dance, for that illusion to dissolve completely. As my wife moved effortlessly in another man's arms, her gaze never once searched for mine. She danced like I didn't exist. Like I was just another face in the crowd, fading into the background. And in that moment I realized, the moment I stepped out of that ballroom, her world would begin to collapse. Now she wants to explain, to rewind, to undo, but some betrayals don't leave room for words. Some silences scream too loud to be filled. My name is Evan Mercer. I'm 38. And until 6 months ago, I believed I had a marriage others envied. I met Layla in college. We dated for 3 years before saying our vows at a quiet lakeside ceremony just outside Traverse City. We bought a little 2-story home outside Chicago. Adopted a golden retriever, Cooper. Talked about kids when the time felt right. Layla built her career at a PR agency in the city while I focused on commercial architecture. We weren't wealthy, but we were stable. Comfortable. Friday date nights. Weekend DIY projects. One real vacation a year, always somewhere with water. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't perfect. But it was ours. And I believed in it. My father once told me, Evan, a good marriage isn't fireworks. It's waking up every morning and choosing the same person again. And I did. Even on the hard days. Especially on the hard days. I chose Layla. Never, not once, did I imagine that she might not be choosing me back. Other guys griped about their wives. I didn't. I thought we were different. Strong. Steady. Until that fundraiser in April shattered the lie. It was a black tie event, one of those polished galas Layla's firm coordinated every year. This one was for pediatric cancer research, hosted at the Delacorte Grand downtown. Layla had been buried in planning for weeks. I was proud to be her guest, even if I dreaded every second of tuxedos and corporate small talk. I rented the suit. Shined my shoes. Braced myself for 4 hours of grinning at rich strangers and pretending to care about hedge funds and trust foundations. If I could rewind time, would I skip that night? Stay home, feign a fever? Maybe. But maybe not. Because some truths don't let you hide forever. The moment you see it, really see it, you don't get to unsee. The second it hits you that your entire life has been quietly dissolving behind your back, there's no going back to ignorance. You can't share a bed with someone once you've watched them smile at another man like you never existed. The ballroom shimmered, crystal chandeliers refracted light off marble tiles, laughter mingled with champagne bubbles, and Chicago's elite flaunted their curated philanthropy. Layla was radiant in a sapphire gown that caught the light with every step. Her hair was pulled into an elegant twist, leaving the diamond studs I gave her for our 10-year anniversary fully exposed. You clean up better than expected, she teased, fixing my tie before we stepped inside. Her scent, subtle jasmine, lingered in the air between us, warm but distant. Like a memory slipping out of reach. The night went as expected. I sipped scotch slowly, answered the same questions from polished executives, and listened to Layla glide from conversation to conversation like she was born for it. Occasionally she glanced across the room and smiled, and I'd remember, briefly, why I kept attending these things for her. Around 10, the band started up. Slow jazz, dimmed lights, polished shoes moving across the floor. I was cornered by a retired architect reliving his suburban design career like it was the pinnacle of American innovation. And that's when it happened. Layla had disappeared into the glittering crowd, no doubt handling some last-minute coordination for the event. Your wife does remarkable work, the architect beside me said, gesturing vaguely toward the room. The foundation's lucky to have her. I nodded absently and turned to follow his gaze. That's when I saw them. Layla was on the dance floor, dancing with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, well-dressed, self-assured in that quiet way that comes with either inherited wealth or fast-rising ambition. His hand rested a little too comfortably on the small of her back as they moved together, bodies close, steps synchronized. This wasn't just a dance. I'd seen Layla in professional mode before, cordial, distant, polite. But this was personal. Her eyes locked on his, glowing with a kind of energy I hadn't seen directed at me in years. Fascination. Hunger. That barely hidden thrill of being wanted. And that's what hit me the hardest. Not the closeness. Not even his roaming hands. It was how completely absorbed she was in him. Laughing at whatever private thing he whispered into her ear. Unaware, or unconcerned, that her husband was standing in the same room. She wasn't just dancing with a man. She was existing in a moment I wasn't invited into. I stood there frozen, willing her to glance in my direction. To give me something. A flicker of guilt. A second of discomfort. Anything to say I see you. But she didn't. I was a shadow in her periphery. A forgotten guest at her celebration. My fingers loosened around the glass I'd been nursing. I placed it on a nearby tray, adjusted my jacket, and tuned out the man still droning beside me. I didn't charge the dance floor. I didn't confront her. I just walked toward the exit, silent, invisible, wondering if she'd even notice. I paused by the bar, watching. People swirled around me like smoke. Waitstaff moved efficiently with trays of champagne. Conversations buzzed. Laughter sparkled. But I didn't hear any of it. My world had narrowed to two people. Her and him. The music shifted, slower now, more intimate. The kind of tempo that signals this is the last dance. Most casual partners would retreat here, break away with a polite smile and a thank you. Not them. He drew her closer. And Layla let him. Melted into his arms like that's where she belonged. I knew that look. I used to be the reason for it. Back when we were young and stupid and thought love alone could hold everything together. Now that look was his. Beautiful event, isn't it? A voice said beside me. I turned to see Marissa, one of Layla's colleagues. Polished, professional, and suddenly uncertain. She outdid herself, I said. My voice didn't shake. Marissa followed my gaze. Her expression dimmed. Oh. I didn't realize Adrian was here tonight. Adrian. So he had a name. And it wasn't just the name. It was the way she said it. Quiet. Careful. Like she'd stumbled on something she shouldn't have. She excused herself almost immediately. I didn't stop her. I returned to the scene unfolding across the room. Her hands slid higher up his shoulder. His lips dipped to her ear. She laughed, too loud. Her fingers curled slightly, anchoring herself to him. Then, for a fleeting second, his mouth grazed her neck. It was fast. Easy to miss. But the way her body responded told me it wasn't imagined. This wasn't new. This wasn't curiosity. It was history. And I knew in that moment that this wasn't something you could talk your way out of. What I was watching wasn't a slip or a mistake. It was a rhythm. A routine. The dance of two people who had long since crossed every line worth defending. I'd always prided myself on staying composed. On being the man who didn't jump to conclusions. Who let facts lead, not emotion. But standing there, watching my wife in another man's arms, something broke inside me. And I realized I had two choices. I could have marched across that floor. Could have caused a scene loud enough to make the morning news. But I didn't. I chose something else. I chose silence. I placed my drink, untouched, back on the bar. Straightened my jacket. And walked. No glares. No whispered threats. Just steady, deliberate steps through the crowd, out the ornate glass doors, and into the still, indifferent Chicago night. The cold slapped me awake. The muffled music faded behind me, replaced by the distant hum of traffic and the ache in my chest. When I handed my valet ticket over, I noticed my hands were trembling, not from fury, though it simmered deep in my gut. No, it was something worse. It was the quiet, soul-shattering realization that maybe our marriage hadn't died that night. Maybe it had been dying for a while. And I just hadn't seen it. Or hadn't wanted to. The valet pulled up in my car. I tipped him out of habit, too generously, like I always did. Layla used to roll her eyes and say, "You don't have to buy people's approval, Evan." I wondered if Adrian was a tipper, or if he just expected the world to revolve around him without asking. I got behind the wheel and sat there. Didn't start the engine. Just stared at the revolving hotel doors in my rearview, half expecting, maybe half hoping, Layla would burst out into the street, heels in one hand, confusion on her face, calling my name. But she didn't. So I drove. Nowhere in particular. Just away. The streets blurred past me in streaks of light and memory. Part of me wanted to believe I was wrong. That I'd overeat it. That it was innocent. But that part was losing its voice. Because no innocent dance looks like that. Somehow, my car found its way to an old haunt, Sweeney's, a hole-in-the-wall bar I used to hit with Tyler during football season. Cheap beer, dim lights, and zero expectations. It was perfect. The place was mostly empty. A late game played on mute above the bar, the kind no one really watched but no one turned off either. I slid into the far booth, ordered a whiskey neat, and said nothing. The bartender didn't ask questions. Just brought the drink. Older guy. Probably seen 1,000 versions of me in this seat. 2 glasses in, my phone buzzed. Layla. Where are you? I'd been looking everywhere. I stared at the screen. 2 hours. That's how long it took her to notice her husband was gone. Or maybe she noticed and just didn't care until Adrian left. I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Finally, I sent me out. 3 dots. Then nothing. Then 3 dots again. Layla. Are you okay? Did something happen? The audacity of the question made me laugh. A dry, bitter laugh that startled even me. The bartender glanced over but didn't comment. Did something happen? Only the slow-motion demolition of everything I'd spent 12 years believing was real. I powered the phone off. She could wait. I ordered another round. It wasn't the betrayal that burned deepest, it was the indifference in her eyes. The way she looked at him like he was the only man in the room. Like I wasn't even worth a glance. That wasn't an affair. That was erasure. Time faded. The bar emptied, leaving only me, a pair of worn-out regulars, and a bartender cleaning the same glass for 15 minutes. Another? He asked, motioning to my empty glass. I shook my head. Not because I couldn't drink more. But because the numbness had already done its job. Better not, I said. Got any coffee? The bartender gave a quiet nod, like he respected the decision, and slipped away to start a fresh pot. I wasn't drunk, not really. 3 whiskeys over a few hours had taken the edge off, but my mind was sharpening again. The fog of shock was thinning. What remained was colder. Cleaner. Something that demanded clarity, not comfort. While I waited for the coffee, I unlocked my phone. 12 missed calls. A string of messages. Each one a little more frantic than the last. Layla. Evan? Are you okay? Where are you? Please call me. I'm getting worried. At least let me know you're safe. Please come home so we can talk. I'm leaving the gala. I'll be home in 20. That last one was time-stamped over an hour ago. She was probably pacing the living room by now, barefoot, dress still perfect, rehearsing her script in front of the fireplace like it was a stage. I could picture it too clearly. Could almost hear the practice tremble in her voice. And the thought made me sick. The coffee arrived, black and mercifully strong. Thanks, I muttered, then sat back and stared at the screen. I could go home. I could confront her. Tear open the silence between us. Demand the truth. But I knew how that would play out. We'd yell. She'd cry. I'd raise my voice. Or worse, I'd accept some vague explanation without really understanding what it was I was forgiving. No. This needed to happen in daylight. With clear heads. Not in the emotional wreckage of 2 a.m. I scrolled through my contacts and tapped the one name I knew would answer, no matter the hour. Evan? Tyler's voice came through the line, instantly awake. Everything all right? Not really. Can I crash at your place tonight? There was a pause. No questions. Just concern. Yeah, of course. You want to talk? Is Layla okay? She's fine. We're not. I'll explain when I get there. 20 minutes later, I was on Tyler's couch, coffee number 2 in my hands, walking him through the entire night. The gala. The dance. The look on her face. Adrian. He didn't interrupt. Not once. He just listened, jaw tightening slightly the longer I spoke. Jesus, he muttered when I finally stopped. Are you sure it was that serious? Don't, I said sharply. Don't try to make this smaller than it was. You didn't see her face. He nodded, brushing a hand through his hair. Okay. I believe you. So what now? I don't know. I need answers. Real ones? No spin. No PR damage control. You think she'll tell you the truth? That was the question I'd been avoiding all night. Not at first. But I'll know if she's lying. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Layla. Please just let me know you're safe. I'm worried sick. I stared at it. Typed. Deleted. Then finally replied. Me? I'm safe. Staying at Tyler's. We'll talk tomorrow. The 3 dots appeared right away. Then vanished. Then came back. Finally, just 2 words. I'm sorry. Not it wasn't what it looked like. Not you misunderstood. Just, I'm sorry. The simplicity of it said more than she intended. Tyler was still sitting across from me. Watching. Reading my silence. Guest room's made up, he said gently. It's not fancy, but the mattress doesn't suck. Thanks, I murmured, eyes still locked on the screen. I don't think I'll sleep much anyway. Want me to come with you tomorrow? When you talk to her? The offer landed heavy in my chest. No, I said quietly. I need to do this alone. Later, lying in the dark of Tyler's guest room, the ceiling above me blank and still, all I could think about were those 2 words. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? For the dance? For letting me see it? For something that had started long before tonight? Somehow, I already knew the answer. Morning came too fast. The blinds let in too much light, too early. My dreams had been a blur of shifting faces and slow dances. I maybe slept 3 hours, if that. I stepped into the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and caught my reflection in the mirror. The man staring back looked tired. Older. Like he'd lived a year overnight. Dark shadows under his eyes. Jaw tense with unspoken things. I looked exactly like what I was. A man standing at the edge of a life he no longer recognized. The coffee did its job. The haze cleared. My hands stopped shaking. And by the time Tyler returned from his run, I had something close to a plan, not a perfect one, maybe not even a smart one, but a direction. You look like hell, he said, tossing his keys into the bowl and grabbing a bottle of water. Feel like it too. I gave him a tired smile. Thanks for the couch. Anytime. He leaned against the counter. You heading back? I nodded. Yeah. I need to hear it from her. No assumptions. No gaps. And if what she says isn't what you want to hear? That was the question, wasn't it? The one I'd been circling all night. Then I'll decide what's left to save, if anything. Tyler clapped me on the shoulder, grounding me for a moment. Call me, he said. Whatever happens. I promised I would. The drive home passed like a blur of quiet tension, rehearsed lines, and worst-case scenarios. Would she lie? Spin? Admit everything? Each version hurt in its own way. The only thing more painful than knowing the truth was knowing she might try to hide it. The house looked exactly as I'd left it, quiet, untouched, maddeningly unchanged. Like the foundation of my life hadn't just cracked in two. Layla's car was in the driveway. I sat behind the wheel a moment longer, inhaled once. Then got out. She was in the kitchen. Pajamas. Hair undone. Mug clutched in both hands. When she looked up, I saw it, red-rimmed eyes, swollen lids. She'd been crying. Maybe all night. Evan, she whispered, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to say my name. Thank God. I was so scared. We need to talk, I said flatly, standing while she gestured weakly to the chair across from her. I know, she murmured. About last night. Who is Adrian? Her face lost what little color remained. How do you? Doesn't matter. Who is he, Layla? She swallowed, voice thin. He works with the foundation. We met a few months ago during the planning committee. And you just danced with him like that. As friends. I laughed once. Bitter. Try again. It was just a dance, Evan. You're overreacting. There it was. The brush off. The minimization. A dance so intimate you forgot I existed. A dance that made the room disappear for you. It was part of the event. I had obligations. Including him? The heat rose in her face. That's not fair. No, I snapped. What's not fair is watching my wife look at another man the way she used to look at me. Like he was her whole world. And I was background noise. She didn't deny it. I took a deep breath, planted my feet. I'm going to ask this once. Don't lie. Is something going on between you and Adrian? Her eyes dropped to the mug. And that silence. It told me everything before she opened her mouth. I don't know how to explain it. Start by telling me whether you've slept with him. No, she said quickly. God, Evan, no. It's not like that. Then what is it? My voice broke. Help me understand. Her eyes met mine. Wet. Raw. He makes me feel seen. Her voice trembled. Important. Like I matter. The way you used to make me feel. Before the job, the long nights, the missed dinners. And there it was. The blow I hadn't prepared for. Because buried in the betrayal was a truth I couldn't dodge. I had been distant. I had been consumed by deadlines, buried in blueprints and stress. But so had she. He makes you feel seen, I repeated, pacing the kitchen now. And that justifies this? The secret coffee meetings? The whispered laughs? I'm not justifying anything, she said, standing now. I'm just trying to explain how it started. Started? I stopped pacing. You make it sound like a process. Like an accident. Like this was inevitable. That's not what I meant. Then say what you meant, Layla. Say it clearly. She sat back down, staring into her untouched tea. We met 4 months ago. It was just business at first. Then coffee. Then more. Lunches. Conversations. About everything. About things you used to talk to me about, I finished. She didn't argue. Because I was right. And it was worse than anything I'd imagined. Not because she'd physically cheated. But because, emotionally, she already had. But none of that excused what she'd done. So it's my fault you caught feelings for someone else? Her eyes flared. No, she snapped. I'm not blaming you for my choices. I'm telling you how we got here. Has he been in our house? The words came out before I could stop them. The thought made my stomach churn. In our bed? God, no. She stepped back like the accusation burned. Evan, I told you, it wasn't physical. Yet, I muttered. Asterisk, not physical yet. She didn't respond. I rubbed my hand across my face, stubble rasping against my skin. I was exhausted, mentally, emotionally down to the bone. But I needed clarity more than rest. I want everything, I said. No more half versions. No more filtered truths. I need the full story, Layla. So she gave it to me. Over the next hour, she laid it bare. Names, dates, texts. Adrian Thompson. 38. Financial advisor. Lost his mom to cancer. Started volunteering with the foundation 2 years ago. Their connection began harmlessly. Coffee after meetings, casual lunches. Then came the daily texts. Late-night check-ins. Inside jokes I'd never hear. Shared frustrations. Private confessions. An emotional affair in everything but name. He knows about you, she said quietly. I talk about you all the time. How generous, I replied bitterly. Does he know I watched you last night? That I left the ballroom while my wife clung to him like he was her future? She shook her head, tears sliding freely now. I didn't even realize you'd left until things were winding down. I looked for you. I thought maybe you'd stepped outside or maybe I'd vanished entirely, like I did for you during that dance. She winced. When I didn't answer your calls, her voice cracked, I panicked. That's when I knew. That's when I understood what it must have looked like. What it looked like, I said flatly. Not what it was. Evan, please. Have you told him about last night? This conversation? She hesitated. That was enough. You spoke to him today, I said. It wasn't a question. He texted to make sure I got home safe, she admitted. I told him you weren't here when I got back. Did you tell him why? Another pause. Yes. I laughed. No humor. Just exhaustion. So he knows he's been caught. That the husband he's been dodging finally saw the truth. It's not a competition, she murmured. Isn't it? I pushed away from the counter, eyes burning. Because from where I'm standing, I've been losing for months, and I didn't even know we were playing. The silence after that was heavy. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. I need space, I said. Time. To figure out what's still worth holding on to, if anything. Her eyes widened. What does that mean? It means I'm not sleeping in this house tonight. I took a steadying breath. Not when you've been emotionally somewhere else for months. Evan, please. We can fix this. People fix things like this all the time. Some do. I met her eyes. But I don't know if I want to. She recoiled like I'd slapped her. You don't mean that. Don't tell me what I mean. My voice was low. Controlled. You gave up that right when you stopped choosing this marriage. I walked past her, into the bedroom. Pulled out the same suitcase we used on our anniversary trip. The irony of it burned. Layla stood in the doorway as I packed, arms wrapped around herself like she could hold in the unraveling. Where will you go? Tyler's. Maybe a hotel. I don't know. For how long? I zipped the case shut. Turned to face her. I don't know, Layla. I honestly don't know if I'm coming back at all. She started crying again. But something inside me didn't respond. I couldn't feel it. Was she crying because she was sorry? Or because she'd finally been seen for what she was? What about Adrian? I asked, the words flat. Will you keep seeing him while I'm gone? She looked stricken. No. Of course not. Why not? My tone hardened. If he makes you feel so understood, so alive, why stop now just because I found out? Because I love you, she whispered. I never stopped. The words should have mattered. Should have meant something. But all they did was make me angrier. That's not love, Layla. I said it like a verdict. Love doesn't seek validation from someone else when things get hard. Love doesn't hide behind secrecy and stolen moments. She didn't argue. Because deep down, she knew I was right. Love doesn't slow dance with someone else while your husband watches. I said it without venom, just truth. Then I lifted the suitcase off the bed. I'm grabbing my things from the bathroom. After that, I'm gone. Can we talk? Before you make a final decision? Her voice cracked. Please? Maybe with a counselor? I paused in the doorway. Maybe. But not today. 10 minutes later, I was outside. The suitcase thudded into the trunk. Layla stood on the porch, arms crossed tight around herself like she was holding her whole world together by force. I glanced up once. Met her eyes. For a split second, I nearly broke. Nearly walked back up those stairs. Nearly told her we'd find a way through it. But then I remembered the look on her face when she danced with him. So I climbed in. Shut the door. And drove. Watched her vanish in the rearview mirror. My phone buzzed as I turned off the street. I expected another apology from her. Another carefully crafted line. Instead, it was Tyler. Tyler. How'd it go? You okay? Me. She admitted everything. Heading to you now. I'll explain in person. Tyler. Doors open. Beer's cold. Take your time. And for the first time since the night of the gala, I felt something other than grief. Gratitude. Relief. I wasn't alone in this. After 3 nights at Tyler's, I realized I needed space. Real space. Something separate. I checked into the downtown Marriott. Nothing fancy. Clean. Quiet. Anonymous. There was a modest bar in the lobby, where I could sit with a glass of whiskey and think about everything that had crumbled. Layla texted every day. Sometimes it was practical, questions about bills or mail. Sometimes it was tender. Or desperate. I miss you. Please just talk to me. Can we fix this? I answered only what was necessary. The rest stayed unread. A week of silence from me. I knew it was cutting her. Maybe that was the point. Then one night, exactly 7 days after I walked out, my phone lit up with Tyler's name. Hey, I answered. Just checking in? Haven't heard from you in a few days. Still breathing. Still thinking. She called me this morning. That made me sit straighter. Layla? Yeah. She's worried. Said you've barely responded. Asked if I knew where you were. And? Didn't tell her. Not my place. But man, you can't hide in that hotel forever. He was right. Work was calling. Life was calling. And so was the inevitable. I know. I'm just not ready. There was a pause. I did a little digging, Tyler said. My heart thudded. On Adrian? Yeah. Heard some things. Talked to people connected to the foundation. He's got a reputation. Married women. Always volunteers. Always plays the long game. Gets them comfortable. Waits. A cold stillness crept into my chest. She wasn't special to him, I said quietly. Doesn't sound like it, Tyler confirmed. Just another game. I hung up and stared at the drink in my hand. Amber. Still. Reflective. Strangely, I didn't feel angrier. I felt clear. This was never about Adrian. It was about us, about the cracks we both ignored. The drift we never named. Adrian was just the spotlight that revealed what had been dying in the dark. I pulled out my phone. And for the first time since the gala, I reached out. Me. We need to talk. Tomorrow. 7 p.m., neutral place. Cafe on Wilson. Her reply came seconds later. Layla. I'll be there. Thank you, Evan. But I already knew what I needed to say. The next evening, I arrived 15 minutes early. Chose a booth in the back corner. Quiet. Private. I didn't want eyes on us. The cafe was half empty. Low music. Dim lighting. The kind of place that didn't demand smiles. At exactly 7 p.m., she walked in. She looked thinner. Paler. The stress of the past week written into the set of her jaw and the shadows under her eyes. She scanned the room. Found me. And for a second, just a second, I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with. Then I remembered how she looked in another man's arms. And the clarity returned. Her clothes hung loose on her frame. Things that used to fit her like they were tailored now seemed to fold around her. Dark crescents pulled at the corners of her eyes, and her hair, usually curled, styled, purposeful, was pulled back in a tired ponytail. She spotted me. Froze. Then walked over slowly, like someone approaching something fragile. I motioned to the chair across from me. She sat. Her movements careful, cautious, like every gesture had weight. Thanks for agreeing to this, she said quietly. I gave a small nod. You want coffee? Something else? No, she replied. I'm fine. She twisted her wedding band, same nervous habits since the day we exchanged vows. It caught the light like it was trying to draw attention to itself. How are you? She asked. Managing. I studied her. Looked for something, anything. Guilt. Fear. Affection. They were all there, layered beneath exhaustion. And for a fleeting second, it almost felt like we were two broken people in the same room instead of a husband and wife navigating wreckage. Have you spoken to Adrian? She flinched, but held my eyes. He's called. Texted. I haven't answered. Why not? I asked flat. I thought he made you feel seen. Important. Her mouth tightened. Because I finally saw him for what he is. Her voice had steel in it. He doesn't care about me. Not really. I was a project. A challenge. Another married woman he could peel away from the life she built. Tyler told you? She shook her head. No. I looked into it myself after you left. Talked to a few women from the foundation. Same story. Same charm. Same timing. I exhaled slowly, absorbing that. And what about us? Do we have a pattern too? She nodded. We do. We stop noticing each other. We forget to be intentional. We slip into survival mode, and before we know it, we're two people living parallel lives. Her honesty knocked the wind out of me. I hadn't expected her to own that. I haven't been the partner you deserve, I said. I buried myself in work. Stopped checking in. Took for granted that we were okay just because nothing was on fire. Her voice cracked. I should have said something. I should have fought for us instead of drifting into someone else's attention. She blinked quickly, but the tears came anyway. So where does that leave us? I'd asked myself that question 100 times in the last week. Lying in that stiff hotel bed. Counting the years, the memories, the mistakes. Measuring the weight of her betrayal against the life we built. There was no clean answer. No clarity. Just pain. And possibility. I don't know if I can trust you again, I said quietly. But I don't know if I'm ready to throw away 12 years either. She leaned forward slightly, holding her breath. What are you saying? I looked at her. At the pain. The regret. The vulnerability she hadn't shown in years. I'm saying I want to try. The words came out before I fully processed them. But I didn't take them back. Her eyes widened. You do? Trying isn't forgiveness, I said. And it's not forgetting. But it's a start. If we're both willing to show up and fight for something better than what we let happen. She nodded quickly, wiping her face. I'll do anything. Therapy. Honesty. Whatever it takes. Then we start there. Not from scratch. Not from where we left off. But somewhere in between, on the ashes of what cracked, and maybe on the foundation of what was still left. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you loved this revenge story, subscribe to the channel for more. This was Whisper Secrets. Thanks for listening.